In today's episode, we're going to continue our journey on creating all the stuff and the things that we might need to make good looking YouTube videos. And if you haven't noticed, it's cold as... So it's because of that we are going to start to work on some of the indoor stuff that we can do. And part of that is going to be to create what I call a capture server. Now enter Panther, my Dell Optiplex 9020. Being that these guys first entered the market back in 2013, you can imagine this guy probably needs a lot of upgrades and a lot of cleaning. Now that we've taken apart and officially cleaned our Dell Optiplex 9020, the next thing we need to discuss is upgrades. There are a couple things in the machine that are not going to be upgraded because they're kind of as good as they're gonna get. One of them being the processor. This i7-4790 was the top of the line back in 2013. Therefore, we're not going to be able to upgrade this any further. We will also not be upgrading the Ethernet card. This came with the machine, and quite frankly, this is as fast as my internet really can provide anyway, so there's no reason to upgrade the Ethernet card to anything with more ports or any faster internet speeds because one, the Core i7 can't handle any faster, and this is as fast as it's going to get. The last two things that we will not be upgrading will be the motherboard and the power supply. Given that this thing was built in 2013, there just isn't a reason to put more money into the motherboard or the power supply, especially since I'm not running a GPU at this time. Why would I want to spend more money on something that works absolutely just fine? Let's talk about upgrades. So this particular computer showed up on my doorstep with 2 gigabytes of DDR3 memory. I don't know about you, but that doesn't do diddly squat. Instead, we will be opting for 4 sticks of 8 gigabyte DDR3 memory. This is significantly more than what we had before and should be able to handle most of the tasks that we throw at it. The next upgrade will be a USB to PCIe card. What this will essentially do is it will allow for the computer to have 2 fronts for USB connection. It'll allow the native USB connection to run one camera while also having the PCIe card run the other USB camera. By having the computer run 2 sides of things, we are maximizing the hardware's capabilities. Well, it's time to put it back together. Our next task will be to install an operating system. Now, I have already gone and flashed Debian onto this flash drive using Balena Etcher. You can also use Rufus if you are on Windows. The next step is to insert the USB drive into your computer. Once that has been completed, either restart or start up your computer and press the F2 key repeatedly. Now that we've spammed the F2 key enough, this is my time to say, can you spam that like and subscribe button? It's a pretty good one. We are now inside of our BIOS, and what we are going to do is we are going to go up to the boot sequences option. Inside the boot sequences option, you can see that we have both Debian and the Samsung flash drive that we just plugged in earlier. What we need to do is we need to elevate the Samsung flash drive above the Debian. The Debian right now is here because I have installed Debian on this in a previous install, and we're just going through this so that you can see how this would work. Going up over here, what we are going to do is we're going to click and highlight the flash drive, and we are going to elevate that above Debian. After that, what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit apply, and then go ahead and click on OK. Next thing you can do is you can go ahead and click on exit, and then we are going to wait for this thing to boot back up. After rebooting, you will be brought to this graphical install menu and go ahead and hit enter. You will then be brought to this screen where you'll have to navigate through a series of questions just like any other operating system install. Yes, I speak English. I'm in the United States. I use the American keyboard. Sip some coffee. After going through a series of loading and installs and detection, you will be brought to this screen. And this screen is going to ask you to whether you want to use the Ethernet or if it has an onboard Wi-Fi chip. Those will be your two options. I am going to go ahead and select the Ethernet as that is what's plugged in for this machine. After you've configured your network, you will be brought here to configure the host. What that means is that what's the name of your computer? What we're going to do is we're going to do build of our domain name. I just go ahead and hit enter. This is where you configure your super user. Now, the super user is different than the actual user because it has what they call sudo privileges or super users do privileges. And it can install anything without having to use a password for everything. You want to make sure that this is a very secure password as opposed to what your user password is. As you can see here, I have put in a very long password, and you need to make sure that they both are the same password. The next screen will be this one to set up your username, and this is where you type in your full name if you want or whatever you'd like to type in. I am going to type in struct build. I hit enter, and as you can see here, it suggests a username being struct. The next screen that you will be greeted by is going to be the password for your specific user. And as you can see here, I have put in a password that is not the same as your super user or your root. I know, I just added a little thing afterwards. However, it is still different. And I would actually venture it's pretty secure. After all that whole rigmarole, we are going to be brought to this one where it's going to ask you where your location is. I am in the Central Time Zone. Next, you will be brought to this particular screen where they're going to ask you how you'd like to do the partition. I would use the entire disk because I have one SSD on this and I'd rather just have it take up the entire space and there's no reason not to. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And then I'm going to go ahead and target the correct disk. And as you can see here, there are two of them there. One of them is the flash drive that I have plugged in. The other one is the SSD that is on board. I am going to go ahead and select the onboard SSD. The next is going to ask you whether you want to partition this, and I want all the files on the same one. I don't have a different partition. I'm not going to put the files in a different one. Let's just have it all on one. It's going to ask you to write the disk, and then we're going to ask you, say, are you sure? And we're going to say yes. This is going to take a while. Now you'll be brought to this screen, and of course, we're going to go ahead and say that I'm in the United States. Then we're going to just go ahead and hit debian.org. That's just fine. Configure the package manager. I've never put anything in here. Hit enter. let it configure. And once again, this is going to take a while. This screen is asking whether you want to be participating in the popularity contest or what is also their telemetry for Debian. You can opt out of this or you can opt into it if you'd like to help them. For the intents and purposes, this is not going to be the long-term install on this computer because this is just a demonstration. I'm going to say no. This screen is where we are going to select our options for our desktop environment. It also has a couple other features that we can cover here in just a second. There are basically quite a few of these. I've run a couple of them personally. However, I would not only recommend like 2 of them. GNOME is pretty good, and I've heard a lot of good stuff about GNOME, and a lot of people do like it. Coming from a Windows side and then eventually coming over to Linux here for the last year and a half or so, I don't like this environment. But some people do. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter on that one to deselect that one. I haven't had a lot of time with XFCE, so I really can't comment on it. I don't know what GNOME Flashback is. I really do like KDE Plasma, and so I'm going to go ahead and select that one, and you will see that in this video. I have used Cinnamon, and I do like Cinnamon. I used to run on Linux Mint, so this is very familiar to me, and it has a very what do you want to call it, a Windows feel to it. I do recommend that. The other ones I have not used, and so I don't have anything to comment about it. I am not going to use the web server part of this, but I am going to use the SSH. What this will do is it'll allow us to remote in from our desktop right here that's in front of me and be able to control, or not necessarily control, but like be able to remote into and install many of the packages that we want to install on Panther. After doing so, we are going to go ahead and click continue, and this is going to take a while. This is where it takes a long time. So with that said, go ahead and grab yourself some coffee and, I don't know, chill out a little bit or something. So with the power of editing, we're done! And boom! That was fast! Right. You will be brought to this screen. And of course, we're going to go ahead and hit enter, and it's going to go ahead and finish up the installation, and we are going to pull the thumb drive. After we have pulled the thumb drive, we will be brought to these screens where it'll say grub, and that's where you can select if you have different operating systems. We do not. We have one, and it will bring through a couple of different cycles and things as it starts to boot up. Oh my gosh, I don't remember my password. What was it again? Ah, yes. So the password to get into here that we set before was... Now that you finally remembered the password that you had set, you will be able to log in and be greeted by this particular window. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and skip this because I really want to get it so that I can configure this on my desktop. So what we are going to do then is we are going to go into this menu and we're going to type in console. Once I have the console and I'm inside of this terminal, I will go ahead and type in IP ADDR. This will be able to find my IP address. And as you can see here, it is this purple one down here, 192.168.1.186. Now that we're back on our desktop, we can go ahead and click on the console and type in SSH struct at 192.168.1.186. After that, it will ask you if you want to authenticate. I will say yes, because then it'll keep track of this, and it'll know that if there's something kind of weird about it, the information that's exchanged between Panther and this computer that's in front of me, this will make sure that that's no fishy business happening. Once again, we will need to enter our password. Why did I make the password so long? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We will now open up Kwrite so that we can finally get this correct. So it's something, I'm gonna look at that video again. Something super turbo strong password that is not this and is different. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and highlight that entire thing. We're gonna go ahead and paste it into the terminal, and we're closed. Okay, one more time. SSH struct at 192.168.1.186. Go ahead and paste our password. You know a password's really good when you can't even get into it yourself, and that was pretty good. With that said, I've finally been able to get in off screen. What we are going to do is we are going to install all the packages we need to be able to create a capture server. So really the only thing we need is OBS Studio. And what we can do for that is we can go ahead and type in the command sudo apt install ffmpeg obs-studio, and that should install what we need onto this server. Oh God, I forgot about this. Oh no. So instead of going into the sudoers file, I'm going to go ahead and just go into SU, or the super user, and then we can go ahead and install it that way. The way we're going to do this is to use SU, and then we're going to go ahead and paste the password that we forgot from before, and then that'll get us into the root. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and paste in our command that we had before, and we can go ahead and hit enter, and we will see that it will install and ask you if you'd like to continue. You can go ahead and hit yes, and watch the pretty numbers scroll by. Let's go ahead and check to see if it's on the server. Now we are back onto the desktop environment of Panther, and what we are going to go ahead and do is we are going to go ahead and search for OBS Studio. And as you can see right here, it is open and it is installed on Panther itself. Being that this is a new installation, we can go ahead and just click cancel. And as you can see there, we are ready to go. Whew, that was a lot. Oh my gosh. But we're ready to go.